Hey everyone, Sinclair Schuller, CEO and co-founder of Apprenda. So quick intro to Apprenda. We've raised about $32 million in the past 4 years now, focused on private cloud computing for enterprises. It's very nerdy stuff, so don't worry if you don't understand what that means. But our buyers do, so that's what I care about in this context. So what I'm going to walk you through, I wouldn't take as advice. This is stuff that's worked for me so far. So one thing I'd like to ask everybody is, who knows where Antarctica is? Show of hands. Okay, who's confident enough they can draw a map of it right now? Yeah, didn't work, right? But interestingly, if I asked any one of you to plan for a trip to Antarctica, you do a reasonably good job. You'd think about warmth, you'd think about food, you'd think about the trip there, the trip back. All of these things are intrinsic abilities we have to look at something and say, I know how to plan for it. I think it's a bit ludicrous when you think of venture investing that people ask you for a business plan. It's like asking for a map of Antarctica. By definition, most startups have no idea what they're getting into. They know where they want to be. They want to be in Antarctica, but they don't know the details of what's going to happen when they get there. The best you can do is plan. You find traditionally there's this idea that you need a business plan to raise money. I would encourage you to actually stay away from that. I've never been asked for a business plan from any venture investor across $32 million of venture that we've raised. What they do want to know is, have you been thoughtful about your business? So the act of planning is what matters. It's rarely the plan that matters. Ultimately, you should walk in with 10 or 15 slides that articulate your position, what it is that you're willing to do and what you can do as a company, and why you need the money for what resources. But these 30, 50, 80-page business plans is fine for a bank where there's some sort of operating model that's well understood. It's not for the adventurous world of starting a company and not knowing what's going on. So put your energy in the planning for sure, but make sure that you stay away from delivering the business plan. It rarely becomes an asset that people are interested in long term. So that's piece of advice number one. And like I said, that's worked for me. I haven't actually built a business plan to go down this path of raising all this venture money. The second thing is be the subject matter expert. I don't think that the idea of a co-founder or a CEO is a transportable concept, right? I'm good at what I do so far because I understand this space. I'm a software developer. I've been doing this my whole life. So I've went through a series of events and pains that I've experienced that led me to believe I understood this space very well. And it's important to be the subject matter expert when you go raise money because the investors are investing, in most cases, in you and your team. And they want to know that you have the idea of what an Antarctic voyage is going to look like so that you can go map it out. But ultimately, they want to know that there is confidence in this investment, and that confidence tends to be driven by the fact that you understand your space, you understand your product, you understand your buyer. I've been fortunate enough that in my case, I was my buyer. I sat in the buyer's shoes. So when I go to pitch a customer, for example, I started with, I've been in your shoes. I spent 3 years working in enterprise IT. This is what I've done, and I know what you feel from a pain perspective. It's probably the most tremendous sales asset you have is to be the subject matter expert. So not only is it important in the venture phase, but it translates into how you sell when you get into your business. So I'd say that's big takeaway number 2, be the subject matter expert. If you're not, they will call your bluff pretty quick. I think the other thing to notice is that the venture world has become much more specific. You no longer have general venture capitalists. You have venture capitalists who are ex-entrepreneurs in these spaces. They themselves are subject matter experts, so they want to invest in somebody that they believe has credibility with them. I'd say the third thing is that we have to remember why investors put money in. It's to take money out, right? They don't put money in and say, well, here it is, I don't worry about it. The goal at the end of the day is to take money out of the company. And typically there are certain psychological magic numbers that catch people's attention. One of them is, how do you get to $100 million in revenue? So, I stay away from consumer businesses. I don't understand them. I'm not that guy. But I see those, and they'll be, 10 cents per transaction from this person or from these people in this demographic. And you start adding up the math, and to get to $100 million, it'll be like billions of transactions, right? And that sort of thing makes me nervous. When we talk about showing a path to $100 million, the venture investor wants to know that. The credibility in the investment comes from, how do we get to a point where this company is making a meaningful amount of money, and that could translate into some form of exit. When you think of $100 million, you become a potential acquisition that's extremely interesting because somebody's buying you for a revenue stream or for a strategic reason, or you're on the path to even going public. So that magic number of $100 million is something that I've found most investors care about on a relatively regular basis. So put emphasis on that, show them in that planning phase what sort of planning you've been thinking about to scale a business to $100 million, and I think that you end up in a scenario where you have some success. That's all the advice I have today.